nightmare retirement consultation.
Yeah, no pain, no gain, right? No risk, no reward, right? We're going all risk, see? We're going to put everything you got in the market. You're going to love it.
Don't walk, run from that office and go to your future retirement partner with your best interest in mind. With a retirement plan that includes growth, protection, and income. So you can sleep well at night. Call Brian Gaiser of Gaiser Financial, 888-285-0829, 888-285-0829.
Brian Gaiser is an investment advisor representative of Advisory Alpha LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. All opinions expressed by Brian Gaiser are solely his own opinions and do not reflect the opinions of Advisory Alpha. This recording is for informational purposes only and should not be relied upon for investment decisions. Investment advisory and financial planning services offered through Advisory Alpha LLC, a registered investment advisor. Insurance, coaching, and education services offered through Gaiser Financial Group. Gaiser Financial Group is a separate and unaffiliated entity from Advisory Alpha LLC. While tax and legal issues may be discussed in the general course of financial and investment planning, Advisory Alpha does not provide tax or legal services. Please consult with your tax or legal professional prior to making decisions relative to these issues.
On today's show, we answer the most frequently asked annuity questions, how to pivot from the accumulation to the deaccumulation stage, how you can hit the easy button along your retirement road trip, and it all starts right now on Wealth Through Wisdom.
Achieving wealth in your retirement.
Get on the right road in the beginning now so that you don't make big mistakes down the road in retirement.
A better life in your retirement.
My parents made some costly mistakes, and I am passionate about helping people avoid those same mistakes.
Brian Gaiser can help you get there.
I want to be your accountability partner in retirement.
It's Wealth Through Wisdom Radio with your host, Brian Gaiser.
This is Wealth Through Wisdom with Brian Gaiser, Chuck Gaten here, along with the man who's the creator of the P4 retirement process, which is your financial compass. He's Greensboro's own. He's got the heart of a teacher. And remember that P4 retirement process entails being proactive, planning, pursuing, and prospering. And you can see Brian on Wealth Through Wisdom television on Sunday nights on ABC 45 at 6 p.m. Well, we need income in retirement. Most of us do, but most of us would rather put our money into something that we actually understand. And there's a lot of confusion around annuities. So here are some of the most commonly asked questions about how they work. First of all, Brian, welcome to 2024. We're in the middle of January already. And there's a lot of confusion around annuities, whether it's 23, 24, or 22. So let's talk about how annuities differ from traditional savings or brokerage accounts.
You know, annuity is just another financial vehicle, Chuck. That's really all it is. Remember, our three core tasks that we're all have a challenge with when we're in retirement is structuring income properly, getting your growth plan down, and your protection plan down. Well, what we're talking about usually with annuities is income, although it can help with protection too. It can protect you from running out of money, which is really critical. But really, when it comes to annuities, how most of them differ is this. When you put your money into a savings or a brokerage account, now think about that. We tell you, go down to the bank, put it in savings, or you go to your local broker and you put your money with a brokerage. You are free to withdraw that money as you see fit. However, in other words, there's no limitations. However, the income you earn from that money, whether it's interest from your bank or gains from your investments, is subject to taxes immediately, right? So if you have a CD and it's a 12-month CD and it started a couple of weeks ago on January 1st and at the end of this year it ends, you're going to get a 1099 in 2025 for this 2024 year. If that was in a fixed annuity, which is exactly like a CD, you're just loaning your money to an insurance company. And if it was just regular money, not IRA, that money then would not be taxed in that year. It's only taxed when you draw it out. So if you put $100,000 in and you got a 6% interest rate and you got a little over $6,000 more dollars in your account, as long as you don't draw that $6,000 out, you don't pay taxes. You're not going to pay taxes yet. They're going to be deferred to the future. So an annuity, on the other hand, is a contract, guys, between you and an insurance company that requires it to make payments to you either right away or in the future. Once you fund your annuity, you can't just withdraw your money at any time without consequences. However, the money gets to grow on a tax deferred basis. And what I mean by consequences, there's just rules. There's a difference between consequences and rules. Everything has consequences. Brokerage accounts have consequences. If the market drops 50%, you just lost half your money. In this case, there's just rules. And the rules are, most of them are, you can draw out up to 10% in any single year. So that's why you want to be strategic if you ever use annuities, Chuck.
Yeah, I think that's the key to everything that we talk about with respect to annuities, because I guess my question is, why do people, why are they afraid of that term? I guess ignorance is not bliss in this situation, and this is where a person like yourself, a certified financial planner, who is a fiduciary, where people know that you have their best interest in mind, that you can really uncloud their understanding of what an annuity is.
Right. It really boils down to this. It's and I'm not a CFP, by the way, but that being said, here's the bottom line. My whole practice is built on helping folks in retirement. Mm-hmm. So the reason most people are afraid, and so I see a lot of people come in, tell me about annuities. What's going on? I don't really understand them. There's the key word right there, Chuck. Most people, when you don't understand something, you're afraid of it, right? Yeah. When you don't understand something, you're not comfortable with it. And that makes a whole lot of sense. There's a lot of things we don't understand. We don't understand how to build our car, but we certainly buy cars so that we can get around. We know what they're for. And so basically, when it comes to an annuity, you say the reason you purchase that annuity is the most important thing that you should be thinking of. And obviously, you want to be educated by someone saying, look, if you want to build wealth without risk, one way that you can do that is maybe a fixed indexed annuity that allows you to share in the gains without sharing in the losses, right? So, but you don't get all the gains. So maybe it gives you 50% of whatever the S&P does in a single year. The S&P goes up 20%, you get 10. The S&P goes down 40%. Though, here's the good side. You get a zero. Zero's your hero in a down market, Chuck. Yeah,
absolutely true. All right, we're talking to Brian Gaiser about annuities. We're sifting all through this, and if you've got some questions or you want to talk retirement, it's 888-959-1641 so that you can retire with confidence. And it's wealth through wisdom, and that's the kind of wisdom that Brian Gaiser can impart to you. All right, the other benefits. You said tax-deferred is one benefit. What are some of the other benefits that annuities offer?
Well, what are some of the other benefits is, let's think about it. Annuities offer tax-deferred growth, like we just talked about. So even if the value of your annuity increases year after year, you won't pay taxes on the growth until you actually start taking withdrawals. You don't have to take an ongoing income stream. That's another myth. You can just draw off of it as you see fit. Like I said, most of them have up to about a 10% withdrawal rate. So that's another big part of it.
All right, let's talk about some of the drawbacks. Are there any with annuities? I know there's a variety of different types of annuities, but what are some of the drawbacks that people should be aware of?
You know, aside from them being very complicated in nature, the greatest drawback associated with annuities is the fees that come with them. Annuities are often sold, by brokers. And what we're talking about here is a VA annuity. Here's an easy thing to remember. VA equals run away, right? VA, you must run away. A variable annuity is a VA. Right. And I really haven't found many that are worth a hoot, just to be quite frank with you. It doesn't mean none of them are. It's just the vast majority. So if you see here VA run away, that's a rule that I like to play by. But some annuities also come with hefty annual fees, and that's usually your variable annuities that you'll see that in. Doesn't mean that a fixed annuity can't have fees, but rarely do they have fees. And I think that's really the critical thing you want to look at. In a variable annuity, you're going to get a lot of fees. In a variable annuity, you're going to be in market positions that you could probably select on your own without the variable annuity. So in most cases, one of the biggest drawbacks is the variable annuity itself, but annuities do have drawbacks. And what the major drawback is, Chuck, is if you don't use them properly. If you want to mow your grass, you don't go out and buy a little Honda Accord and then tie push mower to the back and drive around all over your yard. You go out and you buy your John Deere mower or whatever the case may be. So it really just boils down to having a suited financial tool to your suited and stated goal and purpose for any amount of money that you would put into any type of investment.
So as we wrap this segment up, let's talk about those different types of annuities. What types are there?
Well, you hit the three main ones. Let's just talk about three main ones so we don't blow up people's minds as well. Variable annuity means that you put $100,000 in a variable annuity. You might have 10 selections of mutual funds that you can divide that 100,000 into. Normally, you'll start seeing a lot of anywhere from 3, 4, 5% in fees that you'll come across when it comes to variable annuities. But in a nutshell, what a variable annuity does, it's for a time set, it's for a period of time that you have it in there, maybe 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, whatever it may be. The longer you go with an annuity, the more chances are that they're going to give you better opportunities in it. But you've got to still think about it from a liquidity standpoint. Then you got fixed, which works just like a CD. If you know what a CD is, right? And it's basically a deposit to the bank. The bank is basically selling you a bond called a CD in a sense. And say it's 1 year CD, it's going to pay you 5% at the end of the year. If you had $100,000, now you got 5. Then you got fixed indexed annuity, where it's kind of a combination of the fixed annuity, your principal's guaranteed, and the variable annuity. Your gains aren't guaranteed. But the big thing about an FIA is that your losses are guaranteed. And what it's saying is the worst your loss will ever be in a single year is 0. So in other words, you can't lose, but you can only gain. So fixed indexed annuity, and variable annuity are the three key ones that you'll see out there, Chuck.
All right. So what can we do for our listeners and educate them not only more about annuities, but how they can construct a wonderful retirement plan with you?
Folks, it's all about the income, growth, and protection when you're in retirement. When you're approaching retirement, you really need to start thinking deeply about income. How much income do I need? These types of questions come to your mind. What do I do about income? What do I do about growth? How do I allocate my funds inside the market? Should I even be in the market? All these types of questions you ask yourself. Well, at no cost, no obligation, what the team at Gaiser Financial Group does, we sit down with you and put together a plan based around your needs. No cost, no obligation. Our goal is to put together a plan that, number one, income is surplus income in retirement. Number two, we make sure that we don't take too much risk when it comes to your retirement assets. At no cost, no obligation, Chuck's going to tell you how.
All right, it's 888-959-1641. That's 888-959-1641. And remember, it starts with that core plan that leads to a comprehensive one. We've got to take a break. What's coming up in the next segment, Brian?
In our next segment, the first half of your working life is focused on accumulation, but once you hit the financial red zone, it's crucial to pivot. What can you do to make the most out of the shift? We tackle that coming up in the next 30 seconds.
How's the market doing?
It's fine.
How's the market doing now?
The same as it was 5 seconds ago.
Stop worrying about market volatility. A good retirement plan will keep you from panicking. Get that solid retirement plan with lifetime income and protection from retirement pitfalls. Call Brian Gaiser of Gaiser Financial, 888-285-0829. 888-285-0829.
Funny money or not so funny money? This time, we're talking about funny money.
This is really smart money, but this guy's laughing all the way to the bank in his early retirement, so let's call it funny money. He worked very hard, though, to retire at the ripe old age of 24. Mike Rosehart is actually 3 years into his retirement now at the age of 27. He's living a life of leisure in Canada with his 28-year-old wife, Elise, and their 2 children. Now, how did he do this? Well, first, they lived very lean. He even, and I'm sure politely, asked his wife to lay off the Starbucks. Throughout college, Mike worked full-time and lived the lean life and saved and saved and saved. At 19, he bought a $152,000 cottage with money he'd saved and his student line of credit. He and Elise rented every room and made money off the profit. They both graduated debt-free and with money in the bank. He landed a job at $42,000 a year after college. His wife was earning $26,500 per year. With money saved and living on just one salary and saving more, Mike started purchasing rental properties. He ended up selling his 11 properties and he knew he had hit his FIRE, financially independent, retire early number of 25 times his yearly living expenses. He said he knew he needed $485,000 to retire, and he had in equity in his property just under $760,000. To their credit, Mike and Elise are very smart with their money. They even made money on their wedding. They made money on their wedding by finding a venue that didn't charge them as long as they invited enough guests. Well, Mike jokes that with cash gifts, he actually made a profit on his wedding. Even though Mike and his wife started and finished very early, they add new meaning to it's never too late to get started in preparing for your retirement. For Funny Money, I'm Dave Perkins.
Retirement is the beginning of a new life for you. It's a new day.
New Day spotlights a couple of retirees who started businesses after retiring. According to the 2018 Small Business Trends for Baby Boomers, 1/3 of all small business owners are ages 50 to 59, 17% are 60 to 69, and 4% are 70 and older. Don Russell falls into the 17% category. He's 66 and he's retired twice. The first time was in 1994. He took an 18-month sabbatical after retiring from investment banking, and then the itch set in. He went back to work doing merchant banking and private equity sales, then he retired again in 2014. The man just can't sit still because he got that itch yet again 3 years later. With two other partners, Don started Clearwater Business Advisors, a management consulting firm in Tampa, Florida. He's young still, plenty of time for several more retirements. A go-go years road trip inspired Denny Jensen. Jensen, who's now 76, says after retiring from a career in finance, he realized something. He decided there are only so many times you can play golf. During a trip to Hawaii with his wife, Denny noticed a booming local ice cream franchise. Inspired by starting a business that wouldn't need to be built from the ground up, he researched franchising and became the owner of a Molly-Maid cleaning franchise. At 76, he's in the 4% small business owner age category. How you spend your retirement in your new day is a personal choice, but obviously entrepreneurship is an option. Get your plan together and get ready to start a new day.
Wealth Through Wisdom continues with Brian Gaiser. Chuck Gaten here with Greensboro's own Brian Gaiser. 888-959-1641 is his number. Remember, he's got people standing by to take your phone call when you have the opportunity to give him a call to make that no-cost, no-obligation appointment. You see him on ABC 45, 6 o'clock Sunday nights on Wealth Through Wisdom Television. So don't forget that P4 process. Be proactive, plan, pursue, and you will indeed have an opportunity to prosper. Well, we spend most of our careers accumulating money for retirement, but once we hit the financial red zone, about 5 to 7 years before we plan to retire, that focus has to shift on deaccumulation. So that means we're going to break down some of the exploratory ways that some people want to do it correctly. All right, when we talk about deaccumulation, let's talk about things to consider here, because it's not an easy process here. It is simple in some ways. We always say simple but not easy, Brian, and I don't know if our listeners, they think we're double talking them or something like that, but really you need to be smart about doing it in the proper way with a professional like yourself. They can help process the tasks very smoothly. So what are some of the things to consider? I think you've got a half dozen of them.
Well, at least a half dozen. Phew. Hey, decumulation is just that, decumulation of your assets to maintain the lifestyle you desire in retirement. But with the number one goal is not to run out of money before we run out of life. And the process is simply, but like you say, simple but not easy. You just need to be smart about doing it, and working with a professional can help you with that process. Really, it's more, the professional is who you choose should be more like a mentor, someone that's going to help you go through the different stages of planning, keeping a flexible plan. I think that's critical. But here are 6 things that you should consider right here. And that's setting up lifetime income sources, such as like Social Security. Clearly, we all have Social Security, we hope, at least for another 10 years. pensions and annuities, right? So the goal when it comes to setting up lifetime income is surplus income in retirement so you can continue to invest in yourself, so you can still continue to keep that income growth and protection position strong. In addition to that, Chuck, you got positioning and tax efficiency, drawing down your taxable and tax-deferred accounts. For that matter, your tax-free also come into play here, such as Roths, and also managing those required minimum distributions in the future. You don't want to be surprised when you could have been drawing it down or doing conversions with your Roth, what have you, before you're forced to take out distributions. You really need to think about that. But it really just boils down with, how much of my money do I get to keep? Do you want to keep 97% of your dollars coming in? Do you want to keep 100%? Do you want to keep 50%? Obviously, most people, if I can keep 100%, I would like to. It's not always the case. If you have some really strong pensions, which is a good problem to have, it's probably going to be tougher for you to reduce your taxes as much as you want to, but you can reduce them as much as you possibly can. Converting healthcare costs, Chuck, it's such as when we're talking about pre-Medicare and post-Medicare and long-term care, you're going to be converting your health care. It's going to be really critical. You choose the right plan that's built around you. If you have a sickly situation, you obviously want to get with someone that's really smart in those areas, that knows how to place you with the right plan, and then choosing whether and when you should tap other sources of wealth like home equity. I mean, hopefully that's a last resort when you have to tap your home equity. Some people choose to do that, take out a home equity loan, make the payment, and then figure, well, heck, I only have 5 or 10 more years left. What if you live another 20? They're not thinking about it from that standpoint. Doing reverse mortgages doesn't make those things a bad thing. It's only necessary at certain times in a lot of cases when you have to do a reverse mortgage. So there's a lot of variables that come into play with this, Chuck, especially like managing risk for things which you have no control over, like market returns, inflation, longevity. In addition to that, efficiency, you got to think in terms of being efficient if something happens to you. Do you have a will? Do you need a trust, a revocable living trust? Do you have your healthcare directives, your power of attorneys, living will? Who do you want to get what? And it's smart to review those things at least every 1 to 5 years, and under big changes in lifestyle or big changes that might happen, such as a death of a spouse, what have you. That might change the way who you want in control of your assets in the event something happens to you.
Absolutely. So now that's your preparation phase, as we said, in your red zone, 5 to 7 years before retirement. But what should you consider as you head into that phase? You're now retired. Some of the things you need to think about in the deaccumulation phase of your life.
It really boils down to this right here. When things that you should consider as you're heading into that deaccumulation phase is this. 1, get mentally prepared to shift from saving to spending down your assets. It's psychologically hard for savers to become spenders. And it is. You're going from a quarterback to a defensive end. I mean, that's a big gap there. Going from a goalie to a forward in hockey, that's a big gap there. It's a big change. It's like anything else. You retired. You're no longer accumulating assets. You're now setting yourself up to spend down your assets. Hopefully you have enough assets structured in the way that you'll have surplus income without having to harshly spend down your assets, because you don't want to get that wrong if you've really haven't saved enough. One thing I recommend to a lot of folks out there, Chuck, too, is document your spending you want in your life. That, what do you want it to look like in retirement? What you want to do is document, this is what I want my retirement to look like. Then you come back and go, here are the assets I have. Here, I got pensions, Social Security, my home's paid for, I don't have debt. You want to look at your big picture and then determine how much is it going to cost for that lifestyle that you want. Then you've got to keep it flexible, because inflation is going to keep creeping in and changing those numbers on a regular basis. Then you're going to have to search and change and adjust accordingly so that you can have the lifestyle that you want, Chuck.
Absolutely true.
Simplifying your life is huge. I think we'd all agree with that. Remember when you've moved in the past, maybe it's time to get rid of all that junk. If you have a garage that you've been putting off that you need to clean out, I recommend doing it. But if you really want to take care of a big task, you got to make it as small possible so that you'll actually get started. The key to taking care of a big task is just getting started. That's like folks coming into our office, sit down and build a plan that works for them. It's a big step. It's a little bit overwhelming. Do I have time? We start beating it down before we get started. It's the same thing with cleaning out your closet or cleaning out your garage. And I think you'd agree with that, Chuck.
Yeah, that's true. Then you have to turn on lifetime income that you always talk about and do other setup things here that you can help with. And it's about the plan, and that's where you can come in to help.
Yeah, it boils down to the plan, folks. What we do is we review what you are doing today, right? We're going to look at it from an income, growth, and protection standpoint. And what our goal is take the mystery out of your retirement, right? We're going to put together a fee report. We're going to show you exactly what you're doing and the likelihood of it being successful. And then we're going to give you an alternative plan that probably will work a whole lot better. That being said, folks, tax analysis, customized income plan, guesswork. Our goal is to take the guesswork out of your retirement and put together a financial plan that will work for you. One that also stays flexible because things do change over time. So at no cost, no obligation, Chuck will tell you how.
All right, that first step is to really sit down with a financial coach, and that should be Brian Gaiser in this case, and he's got people standing by to take your call to make that no cost, no obligation appointment that Brian's talking about at 888-959-1641. That's the first step. And so if something we're talking about here resonates with you and you're in that financial red zone, that retirement red zone, and you don't have a plan, or if you have a plan and you want to review it and get a second opinion about it, well, it's Brian Gaiser at your service because that's part of Wealth Through Wisdom. 888-959-1641. That's 888-959-1641 because it really boils down to the core plan leading to a comprehensive plan so that you can retire with confidence. What's coming up in the next segment, Brian?
Well, Chuck, planning for retirement doesn't have to be complicated. Next, we have 10 tips so you can hit the easy button and enjoy the journey along the road to retirement even better than you imagined. Stay tuned.
At Gaiser Financial, we believe in better. A better way to invest, a better way to serve you, and a better result. Our P4 process begins with us listening. Take advantage of our complimentary retirement strategy session by calling Brian Gaiser, host of Better Living and president of Gaiser Financial, at 888-285-0829. That's 888-285-0829.
Known as the pioneer of the five and dime type store, F.W. Woolworth Company was founded on February 22, 1879, when Frank Winfield Woolworth opened his first Woolworth store in Utica, New York. It was known as Woolworth's Great 5-Cent Store. Unfortunately, the store closed up shop in May 1879. He opened up a second location in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and called it Woolworth's Great 5-Cent Store in June 1879. He asked his brother Charles Sumner Woolworth to manage his next location in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania in July that same year. It was known as 5-Cent Woolworth Brothers Store. Frank later found an ideal location for his next store, Scranton, Pennsylvania. The 5-cent and 10-cent Woolworth Brothers Store opened on November 6, 1880, with Sum as manager. The Scranton store is where Sum fully developed the brothers' 5-cent and 10-cent merchandising model. By 1904, there were 6 chains of affiliated stores operating in the United States and Canada. The company continued its 5 and 10 cent business until 1932 when a 20-cent line of merchandise was added. In November 1935, the company's directors decided to discontinue selling price limits altogether. By 1962, Woolworths founded a chain of large single-floor discount stores called Woolco. Some of these stores were branded as Winfields after the founder's middle name. The following year, in 1963, Woolworth expanded into the shoe store business with the purchase of Kinney Shoe Corporation, which eventually created the store that Woolworth would be taken over by, Foot Locker. During the 1980s, the company tried many different specialty store formats. They also tried to revive the classic Woolworth store model into Woolworth Express, a small mall-oriented store that would carry everyday convenience items like health and beauty aids, greeting cards, snack foods, cleaning supplies, and school supplies. Focusing on specialty stores and getting away from its 5 and dime roots led to the store's demise. On July 17, 1997, Woolworths closed its remaining department stores in the U.S. and changed its corporate name to Venator. On October 20th, 2001, the company changed names again. This time it took the name of its top retail performer and became Foot Locker Incorporated, which Woolworth started in 1974. The corporate history of Woolworth is legally included in the history of Foot Locker Incorporated, which is the legal continuation of Woolworth.
Welcome back to Wealth Through Wisdom. I'm Chuck Gaten. Brian Gaiser is the man of the hour here. It's Wealth Through Wisdom with Brian Gaiser. It's 888-959-1641. That's the number. He's got people standing by each and every week to take your phone call, to take your information, and then Brian can get back to you as soon as the program concludes. Remember, he's the creator of the P4 retirement process, which is your financial compass, and he's got the heart of a teacher. He's Greensboro's own, and that's where you can rely on him to be right there when you need him, to be proactive, to plan, to pursue, and to prosper. And once again, you can see his handsome face on ABC 45 at 6 o'clock on Sundays on Wealth Through Wisdom television. Well, when given the choice of an easy way or a hard way, most of us obviously want to take the path of least resistance, and perhaps it's time for you to choose an easier path when it comes to retirement planning, because that is a key, and there are going to be some tricky parts to it. There's no doubt about it. We talked about fear earlier in the program, but there's nothing to fear if you're prepared. But let's make it a little bit easier with the assistance of Mr. Gaiser. And he said there are 10 points here to talk about. So I guess point number one is to shift your viewpoint. You talked about that a little bit in the last segment, becoming a saver to spender, a goalie to forward, a quarterback to a defensive back. So shifting your viewpoint is key, isn't it, Brian?
Yeah, I mean, you're just going, Chuck, basically in a nutshell. It's you're going from saving that money, putting that money, growing that money to, all right, now I've got to disperse part of that money, but yet still grow that money. I mean, it's kind of like if it's become more complex when you get into retirement, and it takes complex solutions, but they're really not as complex as you think. It's about simplifying those solutions as much as you possibly can. So shifting your viewpoint in retirement, you must go from accumulating wealth to providing a lifetime income stream while preserving your wealth. In other words, with a lot of instruments out there will allow you, not a lot, but there's instruments out there that will allow you to spend every dime in a certain account. And let's say that it was paying you $2,500 a month. That $2,500, the guarantee from that company is we're going to keep sending this $2,500. And if you get it wrong and you live longer and you spend every dime in it, we're going to keep sending you a check, or sending you and your spouse a check. What's that sound like? Sounds like a pension with a joint survivorship. That's basically what you're doing. You got to create your own pensions. If you don't have enough guaranteed income when you retire, you need to think about it from that standpoint. Let's put together an income stream that gives me surplus income so I can continue to invest in myself. Just think about that. If I can continue to invest in myself, I'll have a much larger chance of being successful in retirement. So if you accept this focus early in retirement planning process, then you can go from being a great saver to being a great saver with a rational retirement income security plan. And that's really what it's about. And then if you haven't stopped investing in yourself because you have surplus income every month, that helps you to continue to grow your asset and to take some of that pressure off of running out of money.
Yeah, and you also have to review anticipated income needs too. That's part of this thing. And also knowing your Social Security benefits that are coming.
Yeah, I mean, you got a budget. You've got you got to have a plan, a spending plan with a purpose, right? You got to understand where your dollars are going. Start by collecting information on any pension you may receive. Know the amounts that are due to you, whether it's a single payout or a joint payout, the type of methods. It's especially at what age you can begin drawing those benefits. Sometimes you think, yeah, I'm going to retire at 62, and then you find out your pension doesn't allow you to start drawing from it until you turn 65. You do the same thing for other accounts, whether they are saving or defined contribution plans, IRAs, things of that nature, 401ks, SEPs, 403bs. Think about how much you can dump into them without crossing the line. No, it's without crossing the limit. So just think about it and try to max out 401ks. But when you get there, now what can I do with them? What type of vehicles can I put them in so that I don't run out of money, so that I'm able to put together a successful retirement plan?
Yeah,
Social Security benefits are really critical too, like you talked about. Mm-hmm. You want to get that Social Security to match your income needs. Remember, this is a guarantee. So you want to maximize Social Security relative to your situation.
All right, and then, of course, there's things that take it away from you that you have to factor in, and that's inflation, right? The impact of inflation.
Inflation, what is that, Chuck? Taxation without legislation, and that's exactly what we just had over the last 3 years. Probably have a reality of about 20 to 25% in inflation if you took the real numbers and not the numbers they discount out of it, so it doesn't feel so bad. But it's important to understand the impact of long-term inflation and what it'll have on your retirement investments. Unfortunately, you just don't, year to year, you don't have any, control, if you will. This year, supposedly, it's around 3.5% to 4%. Last year, it was 8.7%. Trust me, it was more than that. Like I said, over the last 3 years, you're probably looking at about 20 to 25% in true inflation. It's become extremely difficult. I mean, they keep jacking up minimum wage as if that's going to help. Okay, you're going to jack up minimum wage, well, then you're going to be replaced by a robot if you go too far with that, too. So we really got to think about it from that standpoint.
All right. What about healthcare costs? And also, when you talk about taxes, don't give Uncle Sam any more than he deserves.
I'm with you, Chuck. It's important to understand the impact of long-term inflation will have on such as retirement investments. Like I said, we don't have any control over that. Healthcare costs, when it comes to that aspect of it, I mean, talk about inflation, Chuck. There's some inflation for you. Long-term care, things of that nature. It's only getting more expensive. You better plan for it. So you must, take a look at the big picture. I mean, Medicare does not cover long-term care, and don't think that they do. Develop a tax management strategy. Retirees need to convert the appropriate assets to income. In other words, all right, I want to take this portion of my savings and make sure that I have an income stream that myself or my spouse will not run out of. I mean, that's what we're talking about. Keep it simple. Where do I draw my money from? Should I draw from my taxable account, my tax-free account? Should I draw from my tax-deferred account? Well, you create a plan that allows you to keep the most of your dollars that you possibly can, whether that be 5%, 10%, 20% in taxes, whatever it may be, is relative to your overall picture and what type of income sources. Like Social Security is very tax favorable. Very, very important.
How about market volatility? You've got to understand that. And, of course, also get your documents in order.
Yeah, all markets, including those for stocks, bonds, rise and fall, interest rates rise and fall. I see this year we'll probably have at least 3 cuts. I can't imagine us doing any more. That's why I think we're going to have a reasonable year in the market. We're going to have some bumps in there along the way. But as a whole, I think we're going to have a reasonable year. And a big reason for that is they jacked it up so fast so that they could pull it down in an election year. It's just the bottom line. It's just how they operate. Just like, inflation's taxation without legislation. It truly is. All it is, they just push certain controls inside the economic world, and it causes tremendous inflation. That inflation is not by accident. It's by design, I assure you. But understand that there is market volatility. So if you put money in the market, you got to understand it's going to go up and down. It's the long term. It's, that collection of dividends and allowing it to continue to buy in for you because you can't contribute to your IRA anymore. The dividends can be recontributed right into your account. So it's very important. And getting another thing that's real important, people ignore, Chuck, I find a lot, is the estate plan. I know we've harped on this a few times in this show today, but it's really, really critical. Get your will. Get your power of attorney, healthcare power of attorney. At the bare minimum, those 3 documents. If you say, but I want to trust and I want to think it all through, well, you don't know when you're going to die. So at least get the bare bone basics put together. Then you can go back and change that. So if you made any promise to yourself today on today's show, I'm going to get my will, power of attorney, healthcare power of attorney. And if I haven't had them updated in a while, then I'm going to have someone take a look at them and suggest what I should do. Because there's been a lot of changes over the last few years. So I highly recommend that.
And that's why you should review that retirement plan. And that's where you come in to help our listeners.
That's our goal. I mean, we're going to sit down with you. Hopefully you have a retirement plan. If you don't, we'll build you a fresh one. Our team at Gaiser Financial is committed to putting together a plan that will address income, growth, and protection. You address those 3 task, if you will, in retirement. That's really the key to having a successful retirement, and knowing that whenever you build a plan, you want to build a flexible plan. Now, think about this, folks. No cost, no obligation. You don't even have to become a client. Take advantage of this offer. We'll put together a fee report. We'll analyze what you're currently doing and why we think you should be doing, maybe taking less risk, whatever the case may be. Tax analysis, customized income plan. We'll do a Social Security analysis. We'll determine the best time for you to take Social Security. All of these things at no cost, no obligation. We'll build a plan and help you tackle the three most important tasks you'll have in retirement. And that's getting your income right. That's putting down a really good growth plan and getting it right, and as well as getting your protection plan correct. Chuck will tell you how.
All right, the goal here is to help you make the best decisions, and when you call 888-959-1641, you'll get those decisions and feel comfortable with the tutelage of Brian Gaiser. All right, he's a fiduciary, and he's Greensboro's own. He's right here with you with the heart of a teacher, and he will instruct you about your retirement planning and what's good for you. 888-959-1641. That's 888-959-1641. And you can find out if there's any potential red flags that might cause problems for you down the line. But when you put that solid plan together, it's that core plan that leads to a comprehensive one. 888-959-1641. He's got people standing by right now, Brian does, to take your information, and then you can make that no-cost, no-obligation appointment with him directly. All right, it's been a fast-moving show, and we've got one more segment.
Well, folks, I've been a little off track during this show, but maybe I can get back on track when we answer your questions in the next segment. We look forward to doing it.
Many of us look forward to the day we retire. We look forward to having more time to spend with our families, enjoying every day, and maybe even taking that dream vacation out on the open road. Don't let the fear of uncertainty turn your retirement dream into a retirement nightmare. We can help you see how much risk you're taking, potential red flags that could cause problems for you down the road, such as tax liability, as well as a big one, how much you're paying in fees or commissions with your current plan or advisor. Call for a consultation, 888-285-0829, 888-285-0829. Brian Gaiser of Gaiser Financial will take the time to get to know you, your retirement goals, get to know your unique financial situation, and building an income and protection and proper growth in your retirement plan, utilizing his P4 retirement process. 888-285-0829. Brian Gaiser, 888-285-0829.
And we're back through the courtesy of Mr. Gaiser and Wealth Through Wisdom with Brian Gaiser. I'm Chuck Gaten. It's the question and answer segment right now. But in case you missed that phone number, it's 888-959-1641 to be with the creator of the P4 retirement process, which means to be proactive, to plan, to pursue, and prosper. All right, let's go to the questions here. I think we have 5 of them in all here, and then some final comments from you, Brian. So you're all set to go?
I am absolutely all set to go.
All righty. You had that little pause there. I didn't know if you were...
I've been a little bit off track today. I've got it's I can't believe it's the middle of the January. My head's just been a little spinning this morning on the show, so I apologize to the folks.
No, you sound fine. I mean, 2025 is coming before we know it. It's so fast.
Only 50 more weeks.
I know. That's bad for me because that's RMD territory for some of us. Anyway, Lenny in Stokesdale wants to know, as a 65-year-old, and I have no retirement, only benefits from Social Security here. So, this is a tough one here. He wants to know how I can begin saving, and more importantly, where do I begin investing so late in the party? Does he have a chance here, Lenny in Stokesdale?
Lenny, I hope you got some good inheritance coming. It's just going to be difficult at 65. I'm not going to... it's a simple answer. You're going to continue to work for a while. If you take your Social Security at 67, you can continue to work. And hopefully if you have any debt, you'll be able to pay it down with Social Security, continue to work. And at least if you have no debt, Social Security probably will cover your basics. But, you might want to, and if you do have everything paid off, you might want to consider a reverse mortgage. I deal in reverse mortgages. Gentleman out there, Brian Brandenburg, he would be a good choice for that. But that being said, you've got some big challenges ahead of you. And I'd say the big thing is I would not retire till I had no debt at least. Do try to put yourself in a position to save as much as you can. And like I say, your house will become your annuity. Hopefully you have your home that you own free and clear already. Hopefully you have no debt, but you can turn that into an income source whenever you want to quit and not, go ahead and retire. If you got another 10 years left in you to age 75 and you can save 30 grand a year, you average 6%, you probably have $500,000 in an account plus your Social Security plus all your stuff paid for. Probably not the answer you want to hear, but it's just reality.
All right. Patty is in Clemens, and she says, I recently retired. I have a will and power of attorney as I have a sizable net worth with no debt. I've read a bit about trusts. However, I'm still a little unsure of the benefits or the drawbacks of creating one. So do I need to consider this, or will power of attorney and a will suffice?
I'm not an attorney, so I can't give you legal advice. But basically, in a nutshell, do you want things as simple as possible on your heirs? Then you might want to trust. If you have some difficulties in your family, you might want to trust, want to explore a trust. But most importantly, you want to sit down with a qualified attorney in the estate arena. Susan Hunt is somebody I mention a lot of times because I've met her, I've talked to her, I've seen her work, I've heard what my clients say, and they like her. And she's been doing this over 25 years, downtown Greensboro. But yes, power of attorney, healthcare power, at least a power of attorney and a will, at least you've done something. That's better than 65% of America. But you might not want to leave it up to the courts to follow your roadmap because about a third of wills are changed, and especially if you have some disruption in families, and that's about 85% of families that I've seen being in this line of work. So without a doubt, I would definitely talk to an attorney and let them help suggest what would be the best route for you.
All right, let's go to Isaiah in Greensboro, who's got $210,000 invested in the stock market. The majority of it is invested in what would be considered safe stocks and bonds. So what are your thoughts on keeping my money in the stock market versus liquidating all or a portion of it for a few months or years, given the current financial crisis that we hope will change in 2024?
It'll really boil down to not knowing your age. You could be 40, you could be 50, but you could be 60. But that being said, I think this year might be okay because they're talking about 3 cuts. Some people are talking 6, but there's just no way we're right back where we started and what got us in this mess in the first place is too low of interest rates. But I see 3 cuts, see a reasonable year this year. Most of the talking heads, ones that I listen to, see kind of like a reasonable year to a good year. And it's just because it's election year. So I don't know that the financial crisis, but there is a potential too. The other day, someone was mentioning a black swan could hit, come out of left field and, take us out. But that's always going to be the case. A black swan could hit every year. So anybody could, guess that. But with all the craziness going on in the world, you might want to take a look at it from a position of should I put all this in there or should I maybe take a portion out? But I think we're going to have an okay year. Up around election time, I'd be a little more careful probably. And I know we said that's in the previous election but and it could either be really good or really bad. And I'd rather miss out on some really good than to get hit by the really bad. But I think for the most part, first 3 quarters, and I really don't see it getting really strong until about second and third quarter. But fourth quarter concerns me more than anything just because of election.
All right, let's go to Winston-Salem. Kathy has a simple question. Does my employer's matching contribution count toward the maximum I can contribute to my 401k plan?
The long and short of that is absolutely not. It does not. And so if you're over 50 years old, I think this year it's $30,500 you can put into your 401k, and then plus their match. So if they match 3% of what of your salary, and you make $100,000 a year, that's $33,000 in your $33,500 in your 401k plus any growth. And I think this would be a good year if you can find ways to maximize I would definitely do that. But no, it does not count towards your part of the contribution.
All right, here's somebody that's thinking ahead just like I do, because I just said that RMD year is coming in 2025 for me. So Skip and Seagrove, it was also 72. Next year, he'll be 72. I've got to begin thinking about those RMDs from an IRA or a 401k or a 457 plan. And I don't need the money. I don't want to deal with the tax obligation. So converting to Roth IRA doesn't seem significantly advantageous to me. Beyond reducing the amount used for these calculations, what are some of the options to avoid or to defer or to pass on these tax obligations?
It really boils down to this. One, if you don't need the money and you're interested in charity, you can always divert your RMD straight in to, giving it to charity, and then you don't have the tax burden. So what happens is, let's say you're with Fidelity and your RMD is $30,000 and you want to give to, Alzheimer's prevention, whatever it may be, the American Heart Association, Red Cross, whatever it may be. You have that Fidelity, send that $30,000 RMD to them. That doesn't count against you. So if charity is part of your world, you could look at it from a charity standpoint. I don't know if Roth conversion's not. I think it is significantly advantageous if you do it right. You might as well, because here's the thing you don't have control of. Right now we have a known tax, but that known tax every year can change, and we know that taxes are low, and there's a potential for it to really go up. That's a reason why we're at 34 trillion at the beginning of this year, and probably we'll get to 37, 38 trillion before the end of this year, which is absolute ridiculous, and it has to be on purpose. We don't need to. We don't have to. If they just play their cards right, we could be just fine. And so, which tells me it's intentional, and their goal is, hey, look how high the debt is. We're going to have to jack up taxes. So I don't know that, Skip, that it is a situation where that a Roth wouldn't be advantageous. At least Roth is still zero tax today, 5 years and 10 years from today, unless they change that too, but we don't really have any control over. So it's either going to go 0 to 100 real quick, or it's going to stay zero. Most of the politicians have a Roth IRA, so they don't want to mess that up for themselves. So I see that if I was you, I would think deeply about either giving away that 401, that RMD, or think in terms of doing some Roth conversions if you don't need the money.
All right, that's good advice. So what can you do for our listeners?
Folks, here we are, second week of a new year. We all get off track, kind of like my little bit of my speech today has been a little bit off, a little bit of my radio show. I've kind of been a little bit into left field. I'm kind of regathering myself. My little girl's gone back to school. We're all just going, oh my gosh, here we are in 24. It's a little nerve-wracking year. We got an election this year that's really could have major consequences. Just if I was you, I would really work on the basics this year. I'd really be tremendously focused on the basics. One, what debts can I eliminate? Can I eliminate all my debt? What is that plan? Build that plan for eliminating debt. I would, clean out your closet, get into that garage, get rid of all that junk. Clutter will slow you down worse than anything. Have a plan for your yard, your house, have your own family plan. Meet with your family once a week, your spouse. Make sure you're discussing these things, because things can really get way out of whack, can really get off course. And I see it in my own family from time to time. So that's why when we say you got to stay flexible when you build any plan, whether it's a financial plan or just getting it right at home plan, you got to meet once a month. You got to just kind of take a look. Hey, am I checking all the boxes? Am I accomplishing my goals for the year? I highly recommend it. My little girl today, when she did her plan for this year, she wants to save an additional $500, which means I'm going to be giving her additional $500 in allowance, but she's going to earn it, I assure you. And she wants to just, and that's contribute to her own plan, $500 extra this year. I think that's pretty cool, when she's talking like that at 10. So do a child a favor and get them interested in money, how to save money and accumulating in savings now, so that they don't get a good job and want to spend money on the brand new car and the most hip house, that they're thinking in terms of the long run. Get kids to where they think in terms of long run. And what that'll do for you, it'll also get you thinking about, am I really skipping things I should be doing? So really what it boils down to, this month of January, I would commit it to the basics. Have I got a basic plan for my house? Have I got how my house operates, that is? Do I have a basic budget plan on a monthly basis? All of those simple, basic things, get those under control in January and then start expanding a little bit in February and just a little bit. Don't overwhelm yourself in any way, form, or fashion. If there's a weight program you want to lose 50 pounds, then by God, do it. Step up to the plate, talk to people that recently have lost weight, and do that kind of thing. Folks, it's all about wealth through wisdom. It's all about wisdom is all about making things simple that are complex. And the bottom line is put together a plan that will work for you from a financial standpoint. Chuck, tell them how.
All right, it's 888-959-1641. That's 888-959-1641. Again, people standing by right now in his office to take your information, so make that phone call right now for that no cost, no obligation. Sit down with Brian Gaiser with that core plan leading to a comprehensive one. It's been a great show. What are your final thoughts, Brian?
Folks, it's all about wealth through wisdom, keeping it simple. Hope you have a great weekend.
All right, we'll do better next week. It's okay.
God, I hope so. My brain was all over the place.
Right.
Too many things going on.
Right.
Hey, you have a good one, bud.
Thank you. Bye.
Brian Gaiser is an investment advisor representative of Advisory Alpha LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. All opinions expressed by Brian Gaiser are solely his own opinions and do not reflect the opinions of Advisory Alpha. This recording is for informational purposes only and should not be relied upon for investment decisions. Investment advisory and financial planning services offered through Advisory Alpha LLC, a registered investment advisor. Insurance, coaching, and education services offered through Gaiser Financial Group. Gaiser Financial Group is a separate and unaffiliated entity from Advisory Alpha LLC. While tax and legal issues may be discussed in the general course of financial and investment planning, Advisory Alpha does not provide tax or legal services. Please consult with your tax or legal professional prior to making decisions relative to these issues. This radio show is not endorsed or approved by the Social Security Office or any other government agency. An annuity is a long-term financial product designed largely for asset accumulation and retirement needs. All guarantees are backed by the claims-paying ability of the issuing insurance company.